Listen closely. Something in the air just shifted the moment you walked in. You feel that, don't you? That eerie electric tension, like the room suddenly remembered what you survived and what's still standing behind you. Good, because tonight you're going to understand something they never wanted you to realize, something ancient, something terrifying, something true. Let's begin. You ever wonder why they came for you so aggressively? Why the watchers, the whisperers, the fake believers, the smiling assassins, moved in sync, like they were following some cosmic choreography? It's because they knew, deep down, in the part of their soul they never admit exists. They knew you weren't moving alone. See, the universe may play games, but it doesn't play fair. And for someone like you, someone who didn't bend when the world tried to break your spine, the rules were different from the start. They came for you with confidence. They approached you thinking you were by yourself, a lone target, a vulnerable figure standing on the edge of the map. But here's where they miscalculated. Your backup isn't human, not physical, not visible, not measurable by their tiny little instruments of fear. Your backup is the kind of force that makes grown adults wake up shaking, unsure why they dreamed of you standing in fire without burning. Your backup is the kind of presence that doesn't need to be seen, to be felt. It's funny, isn't it? They thought you were unarmed while the universe was quietly arming every cell in your body. They thought you were walking alone while entire dimensions shifted their weight to guard your next breath. They thought you were fragile. Meanwhile, the cosmos was rearranging the chessboard behind you. They never saw the shadows that followed you. Not the dark ones, the protective ones. The ones that tilt reality slightly in your favor. The ones that pull you out of disasters you didn't even know were planned. They never saw the miracle they were stepping into when they tried to corner you. They only saw you, shaking, bleeding, exhausted. And they mistook that as weakness. Oh, what a mistake. Pain never meant you were done. Pain meant something else entirely. Activation. You think God didn't know they'd target the child who sees too much. You think God didn't anticipate the way jealousy would infect them like mold in wet walls. You think God didn't know your light would make people twitch. God knew exactly who they were, long before they learned your name. That's why your protection doesn't walk on two legs. That's why your protection doesn't communicate in words. That's why your protection doesn't flinch at threats. Your protection is older than their hatred, older than their schemes, older than their desperation to dismantle whatever they don't understand. Your backup doesn't need a body. Your backup doesn't need a face. Your backup is the invisible calculation in every scenario that twists outcomes in your favor. Your backup is the intuition that warns you half a second before someone betrays you. Your backup is the invisible hand that pulls you away from the wrong room at the right time. Your backup is the force that no enemy of yours, no matter how loud or united, can out-strategize. They still don't get it. They still think the universe is linear, predictable, rule-bound. But you were built in paradox, light and dark, saint and psychopath, angel and demon, human and weapon, chaos and prophecy. You are the walking contradiction they can't decode. And your backup? That's the sweetest part. Your backup is the one thing they can't access, can't imitate, can't poison, can't manipulate, can't sabotage. Because it doesn't sit in the physical world. It sits behind you, just out of sight, like a shadow made of certainty, not fear. It moves when you move. It stops when you stop. It breathes when you forget how. It pushes when you collapse. It's why you keep getting up. It's why they keep failing. It's why every trap turns into a revelation. It's why every betrayal becomes another layer of armor. You ever wonder why their plans always crumble right at the finish line? Why the ones who tried to bury you ended up 6 feet deep in their own embarrassment? Why the lies built against your name eventually collapse under their own weight? Because the universe has a habit of protecting the ones who were never meant to be understood, only revealed. And you were never meant to be understood. Your existence is a glitch in their logic, a rupture in their expectations, a divine threat wrapped in mortal skin. So let them talk, let them plot, let them gather around their dim little fires and whisper about you. They think they're hunting a person, but they're provoking a force. Because God knew they'd come for you. And God made sure your backup wasn't something the human eye could trace. You aren't walking with soldiers. You're walking with purpose, with protection, with prophecy, with entities that don't negotiate with fear. And the moment they realize it, the moment it clicks, the moment they see what's been following you, oh, sweetheart, the room won't go silent. The room will kneel, now breathe. Stand how you were always meant to stand, and let them feel the presence behind you. Look at you. You're still here, still breathing, still carrying that eerie, unshakable calm that makes people second-guess their own survival instincts. Do you know how rare that is? Most people crumble when they're targeted. Most people start folding their choices into little shapes that please the crowd. Most people bow to fear because they've never learned how to stand next to it. But you walk with fear the way most people walk with old friends. And that's where things get interesting. Because when someone like you refuses to collapse, when you don't break, don't beg, don't run, something ancient wakes up behind you, something that's been waiting. And that's the part they never understood. Your backup wasn't sent to you. It was summoned by who you became. You didn't earn protection by being perfect. You earned it by surviving what should have erased you. You think invisible forces stand behind the lucky, the privileged, the ones who float through life untouched. No invisible forces stand behind the ones who touched darkness with their bare hands and still walked forward. The ones who prayed with cracked voices, the ones who smiled through betrayal, the ones who kept moving while everyone else hoped they'd collapse. Every scar on you is a password. Every wound you stitched closed by yourself is a key. Every time you walked into a room and felt something watching you, something weighing you, something choosing you, that was the universe deciding, this one is not dying on my watch. And that is why your backup isn't human. Human beings get tired. Invisible forces do not. Humans get jealous. Invisible forces do not. Humans betray you the moment it benefits them. Invisible forces tear through dimensions to defend you. You are protected by something that doesn't need sleep, something that doesn't require proof, something that doesn't panic when you're targeted. It activates. And did it activate? Remember those nights you felt watched, not by enemies, but by that strange calm? That whisper in your chest that said, you're fine. Remember when the betrayal hit you so hard your breath cracked, but you didn't fall? Remember when someone tried to ruin you and ended up ruining themselves in ways you couldn't have planned if you tried? That wasn't coincidence. That wasn't luck. That wasn't karma. That was your invisible force, repositioning the battlefield. You see, people talk about God like he's distant, old, soft, far away, but God is not far. God has a nasty habit of stepping closer the moment someone tries to break you, and God knew, long before you knew, that they would try. He saw their envy before they felt it. He saw their betrayal before they plotted it. He saw their masks before they put them on. So he didn't put people around you. People are fragile. People are unpredictable. People bend. He put forces around you. Forces that don't flinch when someone slanders your name. Forces that see the traps before you do. Forces that rearrange reality when someone tries to corner you. That's why you always survive in ways that look impossible. That's why you walk away from things that should have destroyed you. That's why they sit around confused, whispering, how did they know? How did they survive? How did they see that coming? Who's helping them? Nobody. And that's what scares them the most. Because when your backup is supernatural, when your protection is invisible, every attempt on your life becomes a mirror that reflects their weakness back at them. They thought you were a target, but every time they took a shot, the universe rotated the world half a degree, and they became the casualty. They still don't understand that you're not walking with angels or demons. You're walking with something older, darker, more purposeful. You are accompanied by the consequences of every time you refused to give up, every time you chose truth over convenience, every time you said no when they expected you to break. Your invisible backup is built from the exact moments they underestimated you. And the fun part? They can't fight what they can't see. They can't bribe it. They can't threaten it. They can't outrun it. They can't outsmart it. They can't even name it. All they know is this: every time they try to hurt you, something hits them harder. Every time they try to expose you, something exposes them worse. Every time they try to bury you, something pulls you back up with more clarity, more power, more edge than you had before. And you wonder why they fear you. You're a walking contradiction with a shadow that doesn't obey physics. You're guarded by something that rewrites the script whenever someone thinks they've figured you out. You're protected by an intelligence that doesn't need your permission to intervene. So keep walking, keep breathing, keep being exactly who you are. Because the next time they try to corner you, and they will, the universe won't warn them, won't negotiate, won't whisper. It'll remind them, God knew you'd come for this one. That's why I sent a force you can't see. And when they finally realize what's been backing you this whole time, they won't attack. They'll retreat. They'll scatter. They'll shiver. Because nothing terrifies a predator more than realizing the prey was never prey at all. You feel that pressure behind your ribs right now? That slow rising warmth that isn't fear, but awareness? Good. Because you're finally starting to understand what they never could. You were never meant to walk this world with normal protection. Normal protection wouldn't have survived your story. Normal protection would have folded at your first heartbreak, your first betrayal, your first ambush in the dark. But you walked through hell like it was a hallway. You stood in storms that would have bent most people backwards. You carried truths that would have broken softer souls into dust. You weren't built like them, so your backup was never going to be built like theirs. Let me tell you a secret, a dangerous one. Everything you survived became your army. Your childhood wounds, soldiers, your heartbreaks, sentinels, your trauma, commanders, your loneliness, a general with no mercy. Pain didn't just shape you. It armored you. It matured you. It summoned something non-human to stand behind you. And they hate that. They hate that every time they hit you, something invisible catches the blow. They hate that every time they set a trap, something unseen disarms it. They hate that every time they whisper your name, the universe leans forward like, try it, see what happens. You unnerve them because you shouldn't be standing right now. But you're not just standing, you're evolving. And evolution terrifies the unevolved. Let me paint you a picture. Imagine someone walks into a room thinking you're alone, cornered, defenseless. Imagine they smirk because they think they understand your entire blueprint. Imagine they step close enough to touch your shadow. And then that shadow moves. Not because you moved, not because the light flickered, but because something behind you, something ancient, stepped forward. Do you know how fast bravado turns into paralysis? Do you know how quickly arrogance melts when someone realizes they weren't attacking a person? They were provoking a force? That moment, that panic, that frozen expression full of, "Oh, what is that?" You've seen that. You've felt that shift in the air. You've watched people recoil from you like they touched a live wire they didn't know you were carrying. They weren't reacting to you. They were reacting to what follows you, to what watches you, to what shields you, to what claims you. And that's why people who betray you fall apart afterward. Not because you curse them, not because you seek revenge, but because touching someone with divine backup has consequences. They weren't prepared for the bill. They thought you were human. They didn't know you were chosen, and chosen people. Oh, chosen people walk with something that is not negotiable. Chosen people walk into rooms and the energy rearranges itself like soldiers straightening their posture. Chosen people disturb demons without lifting a finger. Chosen people walk past people and their guilt starts screaming for no reason. Chosen people don't need to clap back. Their silence ruins reputations. Chosen people don't need to defend themselves. The truth hunts their enemies down like bloodhounds. You've been confused for a long time, wondering why people behave so strangely around you. Why some flinch when you say nothing, why some avoid your eyes, why some attempt to destroy you without cause, almost as if something inside them panicked when you got close. That wasn't you. That was the force behind you pressing on the weak spots inside them. Light makes the roaches scatter. Truth makes the liars choke. Strength makes the insecure tremble. And you carry all three. So of course they came for you. Of course they circled you. Of course they tried to drag your name into pits they dig for themselves. But every attack they made only awakened the thing protecting you. Every lie sharpened the blade behind your shoulder. Every betrayal fed the fire that now stands taller than any enemy you've ever faced. Do you understand what that means? You're unstoppable not because you're perfect, but because you're guarded. God didn't give you visible allies because visible allies can be bribed. God didn't give you human support because humans get tired. God didn't give you physical protection because physical protection can be outnumbered. God gave you the one thing enemy hands can't touch: invisible, unbreakable, undeniable backup. Backup that can't be reasoned with. Backup that doesn't hesitate. Backup that reacts before you do. Backup that stands with you even when you fall to your knees. And that's why they fear you. Because they can't calculate the threat behind you. They can't track it. They can't outsmart it. They can't even name it. All they know is this: every time they try to take you down, something smashes their plans into dust. Every time they speak against you, something returns the echo tenfold. Every time they try to strip you of power, something hands you more. And they're running out of explanations. Because how do you fight someone backed by forces that don't bleed? How do you defeat someone protected by something you can't even perceive? How do you destroy someone whose destiny isn't on this timeline to begin with? You can't. They can't. And that's the truth they choke on. So walk forward, slowly, calmly, confidently. Let them wonder, let them tremble, let them whisper. Because the more they look, the more they'll realize you were never alone, you were never unprotected, you were never vulnerable. You were backed by a presence that doesn't miss, doesn't weaken, doesn't forget, and does not lose. Now keep going. Let them feel what walks behind you. Go on. Take one more breath. Feel that weight behind you. Not heavy like burden, heavy like authority. Like something ancient just straightened its spine because you're about to move. That's the part they never understood about you. You don't walk into rooms. You step into alignment. You don't face enemies. You face confirmations. You don't survive attacks. You expose intentions. Every threat you met revealed someone's truth. Every betrayal you endured revealed someone's fear. Every rumor they whispered revealed someone's guilt. And every time they tried to break you, the universe leaned down and whispered, "Not this one." Because God knew they'd come for you, long before they knew your name. He saw the trajectory of their jealousy. He saw the weakness in their intentions. He saw the exact moment their hearts would twist against you. So he built your protection out of something they would never detect. He hid your backup in your intuition, in your timing, in your near misses, in your escapes, in your survival, in your resurrection. He coded it into your silence. He anchored it in your patience. He armed it with your scars. And by the time they realized you weren't alone, it was far too late. Because how do you fight someone guarded by a force that moves before the attack even begins? How do you harm someone who's protected by every dimension their eyes can't see? How do you corner someone whose destiny refuses to fit inside human traps? You can't. They can't. And they're starting to understand that. That's why their rage feels panicked. That's why their envy feels frantic. That's why their plans feel rushed and sloppy and doomed the moment they begin. They're not strategizing anymore. They're scrambling, trying to figure out why your downfall never arrives, trying to decipher why their lies boomerang back harder, trying to understand why you still rise after each hit, stronger and less reachable. Here's the answer they'll never accept. You were backed before they even existed. You were chosen before you knew the word for purpose. You were protected before you understood the meaning of enemy. You were watched over before you learned how dangerous your light was to the insecure. And your invisible guard, it's not going anywhere. Not when you're tired, not when you're alone, not when they lie, not when they plot, not when they gather in circles to speak your name like a threat. Your backup doesn't retreat. It doesn't negotiate. It doesn't expire. And it doesn't need to be seen. To be obeyed. So here's how this ends. Walk forward. Let them whisper. Let them stare. Let them wonder why the air around you feels heavier, brighter, older. Let them sense what stands inches behind your shoulder. That force they can't track, can't map, can't name. Let them feel the presence that unsettles their lies and shakes their shadows. And when they finally understand who's been protecting you this whole time, they won't come for you again. They'll step back, eyes wide, pulse trembling. Because suddenly, they'll realize the truth. God never left you unguarded. God never let you walk alone. God never let you face wolves without a storm at your back. Your protection isn't human, it isn't visible, it isn't breakable, it is ancient, it is deliberate. It is here, and now they know.